Hey guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at my concept for Dokkan's 7th year anniversary, but this time it's going to be the Vegeta side of things. I think about 2 days ago I released my video on Goku. I'm not going to go as in-depth about Vegeta just because they're very similar in design as a lot of these anniversary units historically have been. Usually you have like, anniversary unit A and B, and there's not really much of a difference between them. I think the 6th year anniversary is like the first time where we really saw like a pretty decent difference between the units, not counting the 1st year anniversary, but I designed them pretty similarly, but there are a few differences, but I'm not going to go as in-depth in this video again just because of the concepts and the premises behind the units are very similar. The whole idea of why I designed the units like this, again, is just to make sure that unlike how they first introduced the mechanic of like transforming through each of the unit's forms or the character's forms, I want you to be able to experience these forms in whichever order you want, and that would depend on how much ki you're able to get. So this is going to be Super Elite Saiyan Warrior LR Vegeta, and I imagine the card art would probably look something like this. This is, again, probably what I'm going to be using for the thumbnail, the art that you see right there. Here is stats. Again, it's basically just me looking at comparable LR units that have come out recently and taking their stats and sort of reallocating some of the numbers here, so nothing too crazy. And the inspiration again behind this idea was through Dragon Ball Heroes. They have these cards like this one right here, where the unit is able to transform into one of their various forms depending on your battle power in this game, which is basically your ki in Dokkan terms. So yeah, I love the design of these cards. They actually just introduced a new one, which is a Gogeta, who goes through, I think it's Super Saiyan 1, 3, 4, and then Limit Breaker 4. So yeah, they're continuing to do that. People love this idea, and I definitely love it as well. I think Dokkan could adapt this in a way to sort of ease the tensions of having to go through every single form like they did with Goku, Frieza, and Vegeta. I know it's like almost impossible to see the final forms of these units outside of very, very long events. So I just felt like this idea was something that people would definitely enjoy. Leader skill, I did Vegeta's battle history, or gifted warriors, ki +3 and attack and defense +170% and HP +130. So again, much like Goku's leader skill was Goku's battle history. Vegeta's battle history is just going to be all the Vegetas plus all the enemies that Vegeta has ever fought throughout Dragon Ball. So it's going to be a pretty big category. And then obviously Gifted Warriors I felt was a pretty good leader skill for Vegeta, because the whole concept was I gave Goku's secondary leader skill Low Class Warrior, and I gave Vegeta's Gifted Warrior to sort of represent, Vegeta's Super Elite status versus Goku's Low Class Warrior status. It's kind of like a throwback to the Saiyan saga, sort of contrast between Vegeta versus how Goku was sort of brought up, so that's what I'm going for with these leader skill here. Should be pretty decent. Alright, so the passive, Superior Combat Arsenal. This is a pretty, I guess, similar passive to the Goku, what he had in terms of the base of it, but I did add a bit of difference to how this is constructed here. So, attack and defense plus 177% at the start of turn. Then he gets attack and defense plus 30% within the same turn after receiving an attack, so that would probably, warrant you putting him in slot 1. Then he gets an additional attack and defense plus 40%, but he loses 7% attack and defense per existing enemy. So that means that if you're fighting 5 enemies, he's going to only gain an additional 5% from that portion of his passive. And if you're fighting 6 enemies, he's actually not getting anything. He's actually, I guess he technically would be losing 2% attack and defense from that. So this guy really wants to be used against one enemy to get the most out of this portion of his passive. So if you're fighting one enemy, he's going to be getting attack and defense plus 33% additional from that portion of his passive. But we'll get to his super attack stuff later, because it's actually a part of a super attack where you do want to be fighting multiple enemies. Then he gets attack and defense plus 7% with each attack performed, max of 77%, which is the same as how Goku works. And then the last portion is also the same as how Goku works, with the max ki and an additional attack and defense plus 177% if a super attack is performed with each of this character's forms within the same battle. So again, that last portion is only something you're going to be able to see in very, very long content, but you're not going to be restricted to seeing the types of forms that you want to see even in short content, I don't think. So let's go through his super attacks. This is really the, I guess, meat and potatoes of the unit here. So again, the theme is 7 forms, 7th anniversary, so we can see here that his forms on the unit are going to be the base form. We have Super Saiyan in the bottom left, We have Super Vegeta in the top right next to the Evolution Blue Vegeta. We have Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta bottom right. We have God Vegeta top left, and then next to him we have the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. And then all the way in the top right corner we have Evolution Blue Vegeta as the final form there. So that's 7 forms. Again, 7 representing the anniversary. So the super attack, the first one is going to be the Final Rush. Now this one is basically just the antithesis of what I had for base form Goku. It's just going to be a mashup of certain scenes taken from Vegeta's initial fight versus the Goku in the Saiyan Saga. So, and again, I pretty much had the same reasoning to make this the same effect as how Goku had his. Again, infinite stack of attack and defense, because anytime you go do an additional attack after using any other super attacks, your additional attack will always be this one because it's the 12 to 13 key super attack. So every time you get an additional, you will be infinitely stacking your attack and defense, and I feel like that's a pretty consistent way of having this guy build up to be pretty powerful later on. The next 14 to 15 key super attack is the Big Bang attack. I feel like we really don't have a top tier Big Bang attack animation from the Android 19 fight, and that's what I'm really going for this. I mean, we have the LR Prime Battle Super Saiyan Vegeta's Big Bang attack. Honestly, that guy's pretty old at this point, and I feel like the animation is decent, but it's not where it could be. We recently got the Zeno Super Saiyan Vegeta. Actually, his Big Bang attack animation is really good. So they can sort of mix and match that Zeno Super Saiyan Vegeta's Big Bang attack animation with the LR Prime Battle one. But I feel like just an overall rehash and reanimation of the Big Bang attack versus 19 would probably be what I'm looking for here. So this one is raises attack and defense for 3 turns and causes colossal damage and greatly lowers attack. So for Vegeta, I sort of went for a more balanced approach to not only him buffing himself, but also debuffing the enemy. With Goku, I pretty much just went for Goku's sole purpose was buffing himself up as much as possible. And he really doesn't have any debuff effects on the super attacks, whereas Vegeta, I wanted to give him a little bit slightly weaker super attack effects for himself, but some additional effects to debuff the enemy, because that is pretty important, I think, in content where enemies can be debuffed. The 16 to 17 key super attack is the Spirit Break Cannon. This is Super Vegeta's attack that he used on the second form Cell, where he punches him in the stomach and then does the whole thing where he kicks him and then elbows him down. This is basically the int Super Vegeta's super attack, but at this point that super attack does not look good anymore, so I feel like a reanimation of that would be really, really good. We just got a Final Flash Super Vegeta on both versions, so I don't think that they would go ahead and do another Final Flash for a Super Vegeta, so that's why I went with this one instead. Still a pretty famous and well-recognized scene, right? The one where he kicks Cell in the stomach, and there's a lot of like merch and cards and illustrations about that kick, so I think that's a well-known enough scene to be a super attack for this character. So the super attack greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn and causes colossal damage and seals super attack. So he's going to be sealing on this one and greatly raising attack and damage for 1 turn. I feel like that's a really powerful effect. Generally, when you seal somebody and you also either greatly raise your defense or just raise your defense, you're going to be taking no damage because they can only do normals on you. And with a unit coming in with this much defense, taking normals guaranteed from a character is you're going to be taking 0 damage. So I feel like this is actually a really powerful effect here. Alright, next we have the 18 to 19 key super attack, which is the Energy Ring Rush. So this one is... I had to think about this one for a while. By the way, for all these forms, I did go back and rewatch all of Vegeta's fights that he had. So I tried to pick the attacks that he used that we don't really have really good representation for in the game yet. So for this like Super Saiyan 2 form, I could use like a Majin Vegeta attack, but this one is definitely a less used attack. I think this is from Majin Vegeta, but this is the Majin Vegeta attack that he did against Goku, where he sort of like bound him to a rock, and then what I'm picturing in my mind is he would bind the enemy to a rock, and then he would just like beat them up. Like, I feel like that would be a pretty cool animation to have for Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. Not really an attack that you see too often used in these games. So this one greatly raises attack and defense for 3 turns, so we're just getting stronger over the course of each of these effects, and causes mega colossal damage with a great chance to stun. So a 70% chance to stun on the super attack effect, which is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really powerful effect here. Alright, so next we have the 20 to 21 key super attack, which is going to be Super Saiyan God Vegeta's God Heat Flash. This is the attack that he used against Broly, where he sort of punched him into the rock and then did like the beam attack. I think actually, because I was looking at this and Dokkan calls this Big Bang attack. Because if you look at the STR God Vegeta, I believe he's actually the only God Vegeta we have in the game right now. That God Vegeta super attack is called the Big Bang attack. And this is pretty much that same attack, but if you take a look at all the other games that have come out and used God Vegeta recently, like, I think it's Legends calls this God Heat Flash, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot calls it God Heat Flash, so I think God Heat Flash is probably the name they would go with from now on. But what this does is this massively raises defense for one turn, so it's a 100% defense raise for one turn, causes mega colossal damage, and then raises allies' attack by 30% for 2 turns. So I believe God Goku's super attack that I had on him was raises allies' attack and defense by 30% for 2 turns. So instead of raising attack and defense by 30% for 2 turns, he's massively raising his own defense and then raising allies' attack only by 30%. I feel like that's a good sort of trade-off here. Instead of buffing the whole team's defense, he's massively buffing his own defense, which is going to have a much greater impact on himself. But then he's also going to be buffing allies' attack for 2 turns. So that's, I think, a good balance there. The next super attack is going to be the 22 to 23 key, which is the Final Blow. This is Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta's super attack that he did against Golden Frieza. This attack is actually in Legends as well. It's the purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta's green card, the initial one that came out for the 1st year anniversary. I am actually pretty surprised that we don't have this in Dokkan yet. I imagine they're probably saving an ROF celebration to use this on, because we honestly don't have a lot of stuff from ROF that we should have at this point. But yeah, this is just like the overall combo that that Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta does to Frieza. Sort of like just beats him down and then punches him and then, you know, kicks him into the air and does a bunch of combos as he's falling down. Like that would be what this super attack pretty much is. But this one is interesting. I gave him a medium chance of performing a critical hit and an additional super attack for 1 turn. So they have a 30% chance of getting an additional and a 30% chance of getting a crit for when using the super attack. So if you look and compare this one to the Super Saiyan Blue Goku's effect, Goku had a great chance to perform a critical hit on this same super attack effect, whereas Vegeta has a 30% chance for performing an additional super attack. And a 30% chance to perform a critical hit. So it's kind of like a more balanced approach, but I feel like Goku's just, you know, the overall power coming out of that could be good. But if you actually manage to get both 30% rolls on this Final Blow, it's going to be ridiculous, but not too high of a chance, I don't think, of that happening. And then finally, for the 24 key super attack, I went big with this one. Gamma Burst Flash. This is the attack that... Actually, the Gamma Burst Flash is an attack that's already in Dokkan. The AGL Blue Vegeta that transforms into Evolution Blue Vegeta actually does have the Gamma Burst Flash. It actually is a manga attack. I don't believe Vegeta actually does this in the anime at all. The 2 times where Vegeta does the Gamma Burst Flash is against the multiple versions of Merge Zamasu and against Jiren in the Tournament of Power. I believe he combines his Gamma Burst Flash with Goku's Kamehameha to attack Jiren. And him using this against Zamasu is where I got the inspiration from. So what this does is this reduces damage received by 30% for 1 turn. So that's, yeah, a pretty powerful effect. And causes mega colossal damage with a high chance to stun. Causes mega colossal damage to all enemies. So this is actually an AoE. And the reason why I made this an AoE is because when Vegeta did the Gamma Burst Flash against the Merge Zamasus, he actually attacked all of them. And they all got hit by this attack. So when you combine the damage reduction and the AoE effect and the high chance to stun, if the enemy's not straight up dead from this attack, they could be stunned and you're going to be taking less damage. So this is obviously, I think, when you take a look at the grand scheme of things, when you're going up against more than like 2 enemies, probably what you want to use. Honestly, if you're going up against 2 or more enemies even, it's probably what you want to use. But it's going to be difficult to get this active unless you're deeper into the fight, because again, I didn't give him any key mechanics in his passive here, and that was on purpose. I didn't want you really to come out turn 1 and just start spamming this 24 key super attack. The idea is you're going to slowly build up and get the effects of these other super attacks first, and then eventually you make your way to getting this 24 key super. But if you want to build a team strictly around Vegeta and use like Rainbow Orb Changers, for example, you have the GT Super Saiyan Vegeta to give the Rainbow Orbs, or you want to just, you know, pump him up with support units that give Ki and stuff like that, that would definitely work as well. So moving down, we have his active skill, the Battle Hardened Saiyan Warrior. So this one is a little different than the way I structured Goku's active skill. Remember, Goku's active skill created Rainbow Ki Spheres, and then he gained Ki +1 in addition when collecting Rainbow Ki Spheres. This one for Vegeta randomly changes a type of Ki Sphere other than physical to physical Ki Spheres, and then he gains Ki +1 in addition when collecting physical Ki Spheres during the turn. So this kind of reminds me a little bit of the LR Super Saiyan 4s from the 4-year anniversary, but yeah, Vegeta actually gets to change orbs to physical. So, you know, if you use this, you're pretty much guaranteed going to be able to get that 24 key super attack unless you get very unlucky with the orb changing. But yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of how Goku's works. Instead of changing an orb to rainbow, he's changing an orb to the color that he is. He is physical. And then the condition is going to be the same as Goku's, able to be used when HP is 77% or below or after 7 turns have elapsed from the start of battle. And then what I envision for this super attack animation, or not super attack, the active skill animation, is like a... So for Goku, what I had was the 7 Grand Masters, the whole thing of what they're going for, sort of the lead up to the anniversary, where you have like a 2-second cutscene for each of the 7 Grand Masters, sort of going through Goku's history training under the Grand Masters. And then what I'm going for Vegeta is, while Goku, you know, gained a lot of his battle knowledge and a lot of his techniques through training, Vegeta was able to get a lot of his battle knowledge and techniques through fighting. And actually, that is a theme that's explored in the manga as well. When Vegeta obtains Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, it sort of compares Vegeta's experience through powering up and getting stronger to Goku's, where Goku is getting a lot of his, you know, power-ups through training. Vegeta is getting a lot of his power-ups through actually fighting enemies. So, again, what I envision for this active skill animation is Vegeta would just be, you know, flashing back like 2 seconds each through the fights that we use for the forms. So we'd have like a 2-second clip of him against Goku in the Saiyan Saga, against Android 19 with Super Saiyan, against second form Cell with Super Vegeta, against... this was a little bit tough one, but because Majin Vegeta, he's not going Majin Vegeta, right? He's going Super Saiyan 2, but I still think you would probably show like a 2-second clip of him Majin Vegeta versus Goku, because that was like the most iconic scene where he's Super Saiyan 2. You could show the fight versus Kid Buu, but I think this one's better. The Majin Vegeta fight fits better. God Vegeta versus Broly, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta versus Golden Frieza, and then Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta versus Topo. So that's what I'm envisioning for this active skill condition or animation. And then he would say this line here. And then finally we have the links: Royal Lineage, Prodigy, Saiyan Pride, Experienced Fighter, Saiyan Warrior Race, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. I intentionally, again, much like the way that I designed the passive, didn't really give him that many key links. The only key link he has access to is Royal Lineage. And again, that is on purpose, just to you know, encourage you not to just straight away be able to get the 24 key super attack. It's, you know, more so designed for you to be able to choose, you know, which super attack you want to get. If I pump this guy up with a million different key abilities in his passive and then also gave him a ton of key links, you'd be starting to turn out with like 15 key or something, and you you just wouldn't be able to get some of the supers. That's not really what I wanted to go for. But yeah, I think with the team built around him and eventually getting access to the active skill as well, that should not be too much of an issue later on in the fight. Or again, if you get lucky early on, or you want to bring a bunch of support units or orb changers or whatever, that could also allow him to get these other super attacks earlier on. Categories are going to be Gifted Warriors, Vegeta's Family, Worthy Rival, Siblings Bond, Master of Disciple, Bond of Master and Disciple, Rapid Growth, Heavenly Events, Master of Evolution, Pure Saiyans, Transformation Boost, Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Realm of Gods, and Vegeta's Battle History. So again, I mentioned this in the Goku side as well, but Dokkan probably would not put this character on Transformation Boost or Super Saiyan 2 or Realm of Gods, because he's technically not a transforming character. You're only seeing the transformations as part of the super attacks. And historically, they do not add characters to those categories that do that, but I think in this case, the whole point of the character being able to go through all the transformations, it does warrant them being, or yeah, it does warrant both the Goku and the Vegeta being on these categories with the different forms. So That's how I would design this guy, but that's pretty much it for Vegeta. It's pretty similar in design to Goku. I just think that as like, you know, a throwback to the contrast of Vegeta versus Goku in terms of how they, you know, gained a lot of their power, and as a throwback to the growth of both of these characters throughout Dragon Ball for the 7th anniversary of this game, which is supposed to be the big one. I think this is a good way of capturing both the essence of these characters. So hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see soon what the actual theme of the anniversary is going to be. I'm pretty excited, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.